the development of full artificial intelligence would spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody is checking it out.
It was a rocket or whatever, but incredibly fast, opposite direction. It was too fast to be an airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
You said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help me!
Aliens won't let it happen. You know, that's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1 0 1 1 1 0 1 1 6 3 2 9 7.
Media doesn't have your best interest in mind. The government is self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio. Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness. Happy Daylight Savings Time. And also, welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I am your host, Michael Strange. I am here with your co-host, Frank Pierce. And we would like to say hello to all of you who might also have troubled minds. This show is live, so if you'd like to be part of the show, the number to call tonight, 702-957-1037. The date is November the 4th, 2018. November 4th, 2018. The number to call, 702-957-1037. We are live. You can also click on the Discord link in the Little Green Men stream on Facebook. We'll put you on the show. You can talk to Frank. You can talk to Mike. You can talk to whoever might be listening, because we have some people listening sometimes. Once in a while, here and there, you know, which we'll shout out in a couple minutes here. But if you're new, well, we're going to go through some news, and then we're going to go into a topic tonight. Tonight is a topic night. Sunday nights, Thursday nights, we do a topic. Tuesday night, we kind of leave for a free-for-all, open news, and kind of like a call-in show with, let's say, whatever you want to talk about. That's Tuesday. So if you want to kick in some extra stuff that we missed, Tuesday's the day. But tonight, we're going to talk about Bob Lazar. If anybody is familiar with Bob Lazar, we'll get there, but he's the UFO reverse engineering guy. Yeah. Maybe the guy that started a lot of this UFO ruckus that a lot of people talk about, but we'll get there. Before that, some news. We'll do some space news and some other things. But as you know, if you're not new, you know what's happening. You know what's about to happen, anyway. Because we've got to do this first. This is the most important thing. Ladies and gentlemen, your co-host, Frank Pierce.
Hello, my name is Frank Pierce. Back again for another show. It's always exciting to do these. We get to learn something new each week or revisit something we've looked at in the past. And today's topic is something that I've looked extensively at in the past. And you know what? I'm kind of depressed today because it's all getting redacted. It's all getting taken off the internet. It's all getting shut down. So we have a little soundbite in the intro there where Stephen Hawking is saying, the internet has become the command center of criminals and terrorists. And I can't help think that that refers to us. We're the criminals, we're the terrorists, because we're talking about things that they don't want us to talk about. You know, YouTube's going around deleting all this stuff. All these pages on the internet, they're getting taken down. And so pretty soon, 20, 30 years, this kind of subject matter, no one's going to know anything about it. And that's part of their plan. They're trying to dumb us down. They're trying to keep us stupid. And this is our punch back. This is us trying to fight back against that. So here we are.
All right, let's do it. Before we do that, a couple shout-outs. Dave gets first. What's up, Dave? Thanks for showing up, man. And Fred, good evening, gents, he says. Good evenings to you, sir, as well. And here we go. We're going to do some space news. We got people coming in and out, so if you want to say hi, I will shout you out, and we'll do that. But right now, space news. What we got for space news, Frank?
Okay, why don't you cover the first one? I'm having a couple of technical...
All right, no sweat. Okay, so if any of you have been watching this show and following at all, you know I'm fascinated with this. There was a cigar-shaped mystery object that flew in and out of the solar system somewhere around last October. So when we first spotted it, it kind of zipped in, zipped out. It made a quick pass by Mercury, by Venus, and by the Earth. And then it turned around and went right back out of the solar system. Well, this thing they called a muamua, which is a Hawaiian term which means scout, or it's been attributed to scout from the ancient past, things of this nature. And we just had a paper come out from Harvard, and I've been saying it. If you guys have been watching, I've been saying it. This thing does not fit the description of all the things they tried to attribute to it. First they said it was an asteroid, right? Kind of a random flying into our solar system asteroid, and then it flew back out. But there's a problem. There were a few problems. And one of the main problems is, on its way out, it accelerated outside of gravity. Okay, now, things don't do that. Things do not do that. It doesn't happen. So first they called it an asteroid, and then it didn't really qualify because of, a number of reasons. And then they said, okay, well, it's a comet, but then there were problems with that too because no sublimation on the tail and all this other stuff. Well, now Harvard just came out with a paper, and they're suggesting, like I've been saying, researchers suggest this could be the first evidence of extraterrestrial technology. And it's actually looking like this could be some sort of probe that was sent to check us out. Now, does that terrify you? It's like an interstellar dog, let's say, sniffing another dog's butt to go the crude way here. Does it terrify you that this might be an actual extraterrestrial thing, that they flew into our vicinity to get a look at Earth, and then when it flew back out around near Jupiter, it sped up? I don't know. You there, Frank? Did you read some of this? Holy crap.
Okay, this is pretty crazy because they're saying, again, no comet tail. So the way they thought it accelerated is light hit it, it gassed off atmosphere, gassed off ice. That provided the acceleration. Here they're saying that no comet tail, so that didn't happen. And they're suggesting that it was actually some kind of technology on this thing, some kind of light sail that was off this. So light was hitting the sail this comet released, and the light's pushing against the sail, moving it along. And they even go on here to say, yeah, wow, this is quite interesting. Yeah, they're seeing stuff on this comet that is nearly spherical. So what's this all about?
This is about the what would you call them? The gear necessary to send readings to scan us. that's what this is all about. It is curious. It is interesting. What do you guys think? Adam says no. I'm not sure what that means. What's up, Adam? And then John says, hey, fellas. What's up, John? Thanks for showing up. We're talking about Oumuamua. We're talking about it. It's not a comet. It's not an asteroid. And now a paper came out. I did read the actual paper by Harvard a couple days ago. And it is very scientifically technical with like these very elaborate, what would you say? Math. There we go. We'll just dumb it down to Michael Strange level. Math. Very complex math. And they were talking about why this is an actual anomaly and not something that can be easily explained away here. So, yeah, if you get a chance, Frank, if you haven't, that paper is fascinating. It was over my head, but yeah, it is a little terrifying to me. Adam says no, it does not scare me. Okay, right on.
So, pardon me, but I think they're saying in this article here that they've detected things on it that don't look like normal rocks, and that they actually have some evidence of this from what I'm seeing in this article that I'm reading.
Okay, I didn't actually see that in the Harvard paper, so I thought this was based on that. But yeah, okay. Oh yeah, nearly spherical.
It may be, maybe some kind of supposition near the end here, but yeah, they're suggesting that. Yeah, they even expressed regret at the end here that it's too late to image it with existing telescopes, and it's too late to chase it away with chase after it with chemical rockets. So its likely origin and properties could only be deciphered by searching for other objects of its same type in the future. Yeah, that's amazing. I'm gonna have to read this paper. I wasn't too prepared for this story, but yeah, it looks like they're onto something here. So actual, real evidence that something strange is going.
Something strange. I've been saying it. It's easy. Okay, and remember, guys, the reason we do this show is because these are the types of things that happen. Okay, they happen. They keep happening. And science is all real cool. They're just like, hey, you know what? We know what this is. Nobody worry. We got this. This is an asteroid. Right? And then the properties don't match an asteroid. And they're like, no, it's cool. We were wrong. We got this, guys. This is a comet. Nobody be alarmed. Well, here we are. I've been shouting it from the rooftops for weeks, if not months, saying this thing is not what you guys are making of this. You guys being the scientific community, the astronomers, the people that are actually paid to look at this stuff. They kind of glazed over it. They didn't want us to be asking these questions. They probably don't want us to be talking about this right now. Because let me tell you what. This is anomalous enough to be one of those type of Tom DeLonge to the stars type of actual disclosures, right? This is enough in and of itself if the things they're saying about this are actually true. Am I freaking out here, Frank, or is this kind of close-ish? Or did you feel me? This is crazy.
Yeah, we'll have to wait. I think that again we take too much for granted that everything else is like us, that every other thing is like us. And so this thing, it wasn't detecting any radio waves. It wasn't emitting any radio waves, they said. So, of course, it's not. It's just a rock. No radio waves, it's a rock. Didn't have any, rocket engines pointing out the back. So, yeah, it's just a rock. But then now they're looking at this thing and they're saying, well, hold on there a minute. Wait a minute. It could be this because of these various features and how it accelerated and all this kind of stuff. So people just, they don't give it 2 minutes of their attention and it flies on out and they're just not paying attention. But if an alien craft did come in to our solar system, it would be like this. It would be something that we would look at and we'd say, what the heck is that? And that's all we could comprehend at first glance. And now we're actually looking into it more and we realize that, think about the word alien. The word alien means strange. It means unknown. It means odd. So this, whatever this is, was truly alien in that respect, in that it's like nothing we've ever seen before. So, again, a lost opportunity, if there ever was.
Yeah, and it's gone. Now it's gone. And what's up, Kelly? He says, hello, and he says it's not a rock. When it flew by and back out, it flew off in a different direction instead of the path it should have been on. And that is correct. So not only did it speed up, it also changed trajectories. Again, like I said, outside of the gravitational influence of our solar system. Okay, now that in and of itself is what the F. You know what I'm saying? Like WTF for sure. But then you add up all these other things, and what are we looking at here? Is this the first actual confirmed alien scout probe? Like I said before, okay, so if it accelerated out past Jupiter, and like I speculated previously, if this is one of those situations where we have aliens close by, like maybe hiding behind a planet, say Neptune, and they're just kind of back out there chilling, waiting for this thing to come, give them the data they need. You see, it snuck up on us. So there's a lot that fits with that type of a thought in this particular scout vehicle, because it wasn't moving fast enough to have come from, you know, Zeta Reticuli or whatever they said it came from, because, you know, it would take it millions of years to get here. But if they dumped that thing from Jupiter or from Neptune, a little different story, right? I don't know. Am I going off the rails here, Frank? Help me out, buddy. I'm literally going to get up and walk out of here. I'm so excited. I'm going to go look at the sky.
I think you're going off the rails a little bit, because it did come from out of the solar system. It wasn't hidden in the solar system. Outside the asteroid belt, maybe that's the Kuiper belt, or Kuiper. How do you say that? You know, the
Kuiper.
further out asteroid
the Kuiper belt.
Kuiper. Yeah, that it could have come from beyond there, but hiding behind Jupiter, you know, sneaking up on us from within our solar system. You know, you'll give NASA at least a little bit of credit. It couldn't be that.
Right.
But
we don't do that
again.
here,
what this thing did, what this thing did, and how it moved, and now we got some scientists looking at it and saying, this is bizarre, this is anomalous, and they're seeing things on it. It's not just pure speculation. They're actually looking at proof from this thing and saying, wow, what the hell's going on?
Right, exactly. And so this is reported by Telegraph India. And as you've noticed, if you're watching the stream here, there's a typo. It says could be an Allen relic. They mean alien, you know, just so we're clear. Just so everybody knows we're talking about aliens here. Actual, possible, probable aliens. Okay, got some comments to read. We'll move on from this one. I'm so excited because I was saying it, I've been saying it for weeks, been saying it for months, and now this information keeps coming out, and it's basically backing up what I've been saying. It's not what they're telling us, and it's great that the data is kind of backing that up a little bit. Okay, so Adam says, is that the reason why they shut down all the observatories? Kelly says, no, those were solar observatories. But there were also, we're going to go to that one next, but there was a bunch of actual in-orbit satellites that shut down as well, kind of within weeks of each other. It wasn't actually in the same, you know, couple days, but there was recently kind of a spate of observatories and telescopes and things that actually did shut down. So suspicious. Good call on that, guys. Adam says the rock was probably a cloaking technology, possibly. Who knows, right? Who knows? We don't know what it is, and that's amazing. And Kelly says the first probe would be the Black Knight satellite. Oh, the first known. Okay. And then Fred says, I'm with you, Mike. Yes, there we go. I got one. Fred's with me. Me and Fred against the world. All right, but what do you guys think? Is this one of the things that's kind of got you riled up like it has me riled up? I've been talking about this. We've been talking about this, and we've been watching it very closely, and this information just came out in the last day or two. So it is one of those interesting times where the media actually reports things on the weekends because they expect it to get glazed over by a couple days off, and then CNN comes back on Monday, logs in at 8 in the morning with Fox News, and then they start arguing about the other BS again that you guys hear on the radio and TV and whatever else. But this was dropped, I believe, Friday night, so that's like they call that dumping day, right? So that's when they put out information that they don't want to get extra scrutiny, right? And so this is Sunday night, and these articles are coming out, but watch. You won't hear anything about this if we're not talking about it. So anyway, pretty good stuff. If you guys have comments on this, please give us a call. This number to call, 702-957-1037, or you can click the Discord link. That's in the Little Green Men stream on Facebook, and we'd love to have you on the show. But yeah, anything on this, Frank, before we move on?
Yeah, for the next episode, I'm going to pull that paper up and we'll go through it line by line and see what kind of evidence they actually have, if they have any real physical proof or if it's just speculation entirely. But reading that article, it seems they do have some kind of physical proof here. So we're going to pull that up for the next show.
There you go. We will do that. I did read it, and like I said, a lot of it was over my head because it's some pretty advanced math that we're talking about. But otherwise, there's some other stuff in there that can be gleaned that this is not normal, not a normal object. So there we go. Okay, so what do we got next, Frank?
So I just gave NASA some credit, and I don't like to do that, so we got to take a dump on them right now. NASA retires Kepler Space Telescope, passes planet hunting torch. So this is from nasa.gov. And basically, the Kepler Space Telescope, it's been in orbit for several years, hunting planets, hunting suns, like taking images of everything, and now it's out of fuel. So the Space Telescope has run out of fuel needed for further science operations. NASA has decided to retire the spacecraft within its current safe orbit away from Earth. Okay, I got a question for you. Maybe you can help me answer this, because I guess I'm an idiot. Well, when my car runs out of gas, I put gas in it. Why can't they do the same thing here?
Right. They do it to fighter jets in the air. Right. Moving at, hundreds of miles per hour. Yeah, you got me. I don't know. Again, I think like you said previously, is they don't let us know what it's actually powered by. So if it is, some kind of nuclear half-life type thing going on, can't you just kick the nuclear block out into space, which is radiation anyway, and then put a new one in or something like that? I don't know.
Yeah, so this is a really strange story. I don't quite understand why they can't refuel it. Again, I've looked into this. I've looked into what type of fuel this thing has. I've looked into if it's some kind of radioactive battery that we've talked about in previous episodes. And I don't know. There's just no information on it. But it seems to me that you have this installation up there. It's worth billions of dollars. And they're just going to say, okay, it's dead. Well, surely it could be repurposed. Surely the parts could be stripped off of it like an old car and, put together into something else. Something could be done with it, but they're just going to let this thing float in space dead. So I don't quite understand. It just doesn't make any sense. It's a waste of money, waste of time, waste of opportunity. And this thing was a beast. It was discovering tons and tons of planets, exoplanets and moons, and taking great images. A lot of the images we've seen have come from these things. So I just don't get it. It doesn't make
It's the you know what it is? It's climate change. So if it wasn't for climate change, I'm pretty sure we could refuel this sucker. Pretty sure that's it.
Probably Russia had something to do with it too.
Maybe Russia. Maybe Russia. We jest, folks. We jest. Okay, but yeah, this is one of the ones we talked about. So this recently ran out of fuel, and along with the pre-mentioned solar observatories here, this was one of the ones that kind of ran out of fuel, and now they're actually saying that it is done, over. This thing is now just a piece of space junk, and they can no longer get anything useful out of it. So this was one of the ones that was kind of suspicious because a few went down at the same time along with those solar observatories. So there we go. This one's official. So they say this one's official. It is retired. Should we play a ditty and maybe take a shot? I don't know.
Maybe. But yeah, again, a lot of our data came from this thing, and to just delete it, forget about it, it doesn't make sense. They could do something with it. And just look at the previous story. They had this thing, this massive anomaly fly by. They didn't really care too much. They just let it fly by. They didn't look at it, didn't do anything. But aim this damn thing at it, right? Aim this thing at it, get some close-up images, do something. But no. They don't care.
Well, we're sending the Parker probe into the sun. So if we're so anxious to send, good technology into the sun, why don't we just send this thing, give it a little push, let it burn up, and then we could celebrate, like I said, the 4th of July. We could all, take a shot, play a ditty, and this thing will go into the sun and, give it a proper burial. But no, it's going to float in the deep dark of space, and it's going to disappear, and we're going to forget about it, and that'll be that. Until actually it lands in the ocean sometime. That's probably what's going to happen. Oh, geez. Okay, couple more comments here and we'll move on. Adam says, my question is, why do they feel like they have to hide this from the public? Because we're the majority. We're what makes this world go round. Damn right, brother. That's exactly what we've been saying. That's what we have said. That's what we are saying, and that is exactly what we will continue to say. That's a perfect sentiment. Kelly says, wasn't that trajectory that also come from above and not like things that come into our universe? Yeah, into our galaxy, I think he means. Yeah, so it was a bizarre trajectory where Oumuamua, I think he's talking about, kind of came into the atmosphere or the solar system itself. It was on a flat plane. We played that video a few shows back, but it did look like they kind of tried to sneak attack us. So it was on us before we could really do anything to get a good reading on what it was. So that's if that's not suspicious, I don't know what it is. I don't know. There we go. And Fred says, is it really dead? Or is it just what they want us to believe? Maybe it's doing, quote, special projects. That black
How would you
budget
know,
clandestine
right?
stuff.
You would never know.
Yeah.
They would never tell you. There's no transparency whatsoever. So you're absolutely right. It could be on a special project. It could be, who knows? They could be, selling it to the aliens for all we know. Like, who knows? They'll never tell us. They won't give us that information. So, and you can't ask them about it. They'll just give you their press release. And I don't think journalists care to push it. Again, that's like, what are they, the fourth estate, the fifth estate? There's a reason we have these people, and they're not doing their jobs.
But we are, damn it. We are. If the news isn't going to talk about this, we are. So you guys can trust us. We're going to keep sniffing this stuff out and bringing it up. Okay, what else we got, Frank?
Okay, let's open this. OSIRIS-REx gets its first close-up photos of the asteroid Bennu. So this is from Astronomy. So NASA, again, here's NASA again, sent out this space mission. I believe it was in 2016, September 2016. It was a space mission to investigate this asteroid Bennu, which circles Earth. It's on the dangerous asteroid list. It comes close every so often. In fact, they say that although the chances are slim, it's possible that the 1,600-foot-long body could impact the Earth in the late 22nd century. Now, that's not the only reason they sent this probe out. It's also very carbon-rich, which is odd because most things aren't. So they sent this probe out, and it's made its approach. It sent some images, and they're currently slowing it down, slowing the orbital probe type deal down to come in contact with this thing, much like the Japanese did a while. But they're reaching this thing. It's carbon rich. They're looking for water. They're looking for all sorts of different organic compounds, perhaps on this asteroid, and it could impact Earth. So in weeks, I think we'll be getting some good data from this, hopefully, unless they suppress it and cover it up.
which is standard operating procedure. Just if you're into government stuff, if you don't believe me, try and run actually send in a FOIA request, Freedom of Information Act, and you'll see they cock block at every turn. They say, oh no, that's not quite right, no information, and then you have to refile, and it's a giant pain in the ass. Anyway, it's because they don't want you to know. It's as simple as that. They don't want you to know. They're like, nah, come on. We'll tell you when we want to tell you. And that's never. All right.
So how this thing works is they're going to land it on the surface for a quick contact. They're going to blast the surface with nitrogen gas to kind of break up some of the pieces. They're going to scoop that up, and they're going to take it back to Earth. So we should get some samples from this asteroid, hopefully. And it's kind of an odd asteroid in its proximity to Earth, but we may get data on organic molecules and volatile compounds and amino acids on this asteroid. Again, if you find an amino acid on an asteroid, well, what does that mean?
That's life, baby. That's life.
That's life, right? So if you find that on an asteroid, way the hell out in the middle of nowhere, I think we have to revisit our approach to where we came from, who we are, what started this whole thing, because again, this is just a dead rock floating out in space. Why the hell would it have an amino acid on it? So again, I'm giving NASA credit for this one. Let's see what they do with it. So we'll stay tuned on this too, and we'll keep you updated.
There you go. Keep an eye on this stuff. Okay, there's another one too. Speaking of alien life, I'm pulling this one up, Frank. Earthsky.org. Bold new plan announced to explore alien ocean worlds. Pretty good stuff.
Again, this one, this is pretty good, right? Because we have Europa, Titan, Ganymede, Callisto, all these different moons that are orbiting Jupiter and Saturn and even Mars. And these things are loaded with water. right? There are tons and tons and tons of water. More water on some of these planets than there is on Earth, or that's what they say anyway. And especially the moons orbiting Mars, well, we want to colonize Mars. We want to go to Mars. Well, we have water above Mars. Well, what do? Can we crash the moon into the planet? Probably not. That's beyond us. But the gravity on these moons is so small that I can't see an issue with somehow setting a facility on the surface of these things, freezing water into chunks, and, you know, shooting it at the planet, essentially, like dropping ice cubes from orbit. And these things land and they melt and they contribute to the atmosphere. They do all sorts of stuff. And at the same time, because the gravity is so low, it doesn't cost a lot to launch them off. But you can convert that fuel, that water, into fuel on the moon, so it can be like a gas station in space, so to speak. And that's what we should be doing instead of launching probes at the sun or shooting them out in the middle of nowhere, is embracing this bold new plan to explore these ocean worlds, because water is life. Water is fuel. Water is energy. Water is everything. So if we have that, we can do whatever the hell we want, essentially. So look for, you know, various organic compounds as well. Look for different potential life on there. But even putting that all aside, just for the sake of fuel, just for the fact that we could drop ice cubes into Mars's orbit, start a lake down there, you know what I mean? That would be amazing.
Well, what about the alien narwhals? I mean, I think, you know, I mean, as long as we're looking, right?
Yeah, as long as we're looking. Again, that's the thing, is the worst case scenario is infinite water that we could use to make fuel. The best case scenario is actually learning something important. So this is why this has to be a priority over nearly everything. Agreed.
A few more comments here. We'll move on, guys. Let's see. Adam says alien invasion. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe. And then he says, I don't know why we put up with this. We shouldn't put up with it anymore. Need enough people to stand up for everyone else. Damn right. Well said. Benjamin, what's up? Thanks for showing up, man. He says, what about the one that passed us by the other from another solar system? Was it a probe-wrecked ship or what? That was the one. You just missed it. I think you showed up and we just talked about it. Oumuamua. Yeah, it's an alien probe, man. Quote me on that. Nobody will actually back me up, but quote me on that. You'll see. When the info comes out, I'm more right than I'm wrong. Okay, so one more time, this is a live show, guys. If you want to be part of the show, the number to call is 702-957-1037. You can also click the Discord link right there on the Little Green Men stream on Facebook. We'll put you on Discord. You can talk to Frank and Mike, and that's how we communicate and do the show. So you can get on here and join us and talk about this stuff and more. We're going to get to Bob Lazar shortly. He was the guy that was responsible for the leaking, anyway, the reverse engineering of the alien spacecraft. So we'll get to that in just a sec, but we got one more news article here. Did you get a chance to read this one, Frank? This was pretty amazing. This is reported by InterestingEngineering.com, and it was this Austrian discovery could open the door to quantum teleportation. I'll say that again. Quantum teleportation. Now, Einstein talked about this in the past with his spooky action at a distance. If you guys haven't heard of that, you can Google that, look it up. But it's where one particle can affect another particle through a very large distance because of their connection to each other, their let's say chemical connection. It's not really chemical. I think it's more at that point quantum. It becomes, I don't know.
Yeah,
anyway,
quantum entanglement of some kind.
There you go. That's exactly it. So so they're saying that in the future this could lead to all kinds of things, and this is talk from years past, that we could actually send information through this. This could be the new anti-hack mechanism where you can actually send information from one particle to another over thousands or more miles type of thing. So interesting. So they're saying that this is some kind of open discovery that's going to open this door to actual quantum teleportation. So yeah, what do you think, Frank? BS or we onto something here?
Well, good. Yeah, good if they're proving this, and it looks like they're moving forward to linking these qubits together in this quantum system. Again, this is beyond me. All this kind of stuff doesn't make sense, but think about what this means. We can play video games on Mars and get good ping to the servers on Earth. So there we go.
That's exactly what it means, and that's amazing. That's amazing. All right, a couple more comments here. Adam says, I learned that on that Philadelphia experiment, yes. And then Benjamin says, it sounds like the movie Doom, guys. The movie Doom. I never saw that one. Did you see Doom? I didn't see that one.
Yeah, the game, right? The movie based on the game where essentially they open a portal to hell and all sorts of stuff starts spilling out. But yeah, this is part of the thing, is playing with this quantum entanglement. I believe that was part.
Oh, okay. I wasn't aware of that. I just had fun shooting the devils that came through the portal. Okay, I don't read the lore. That's just way too nerdy for me. Jeez, come on, man. Okay, Lee, thanks for showing up, buddy. Or Len, I'm sorry, Len, not Lee. I need glasses. He says, saves getting a lift from work. Amen, brother. Imagine that. Boom, you're on Mars. Just snap your fingers. Adam says, imagine what that would do to your cells. I don't want to imagine. I think Blender. Yeah, maybe. Okay. Anyway, that's it for the news, guys. If you got comments on this stuff or anything else, 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link in the Little Green Men, and we'll put you on. We'll put you on with Mike and Frank and Mike, and we'll talk about all these things and more. But for now, as of right now, we're gonna do Bob Lazar. Have you guys heard of this guy, Bob Lazar? Pretty exciting stuff.
It's a shame because this guy, think about this, and I kind of referenced this in my little introduction there, but think about this. 20 years ago, all the world knew about Bob Lazar. You could get information on this guy. You turn on the news in any country in the world, and you're hearing reports about this guy. And nowadays, you go on YouTube and you look for some of these things. Sure, you'll find an interview here or there, but more and more, they're taking these things down. They're getting rid of them. And when you search for this guy's name on Google, what do you find? Tell me, what do you find? What do you think?
I think it's normal. Welcome to Big Brother. Welcome to George Orwell's 1984. It's here. I mean, these are the things, right? If you control the present, what is it? You control the past, you control the present, you control the present, you control the future. Here we are. So we're controlling the past by not allowing this stuff out. Even stuff that is common knowledge 10 years ago is no longer common knowledge. And so why is that? It's a frightening question.
Not only that, but it's hoax, debunked, liar, fraud, Bob Lazar debunked, all this kind of stuff. That's the Google results. That's what they give you. And so you look into this stuff nowadays and you don't take them seriously. You think, oh, here's another crackpot. Despite all the evidence, despite all he's been through, despite his story, all the different things that line up with other stories, they're just trying to program your mind by deleting the information and then spewing out hoax, fraud, debunked, all this kind of stuff at you. And it's shameful, quite frankly.
It's literally brainwashing you. It's changing the way you think, it's changing the way you ask questions, and it's changing the way you move and do things from now and into your future. It's terrifying, guys. So again, remember, so we talked about in the old days, a book that went on the bookshelf could not be redacted from history unless you burned it, aka Nazi. But now it's no longer books. It's all digital, right? You go to Wikipedia, what's on there right now might be different next week on the exact same entry. It's going to be different. So it's changing. It's changing. As we go to sleep and wake up the next day, this stuff is different. We think it's an accident. I don't think it's an accident. I think it's one of those terrifying things that we need to be aware of and demand change, demand answers, and ask the right questions. So here we are trying to do that, trying to do our best. Adam says that it's because when Bush passed the Freedom of Information Act, it was actually designed to suppress information. So it was labeled backwards. You know what? It's double speak. It's Orwellian double speak. It's exactly what it is. And then he can control the past, can control the future. Yep. Thanks, Adam. That's exactly what I was looking for. And it's true. It's true. So think about it, guys. It's as they tell us one thing, just like the Patriot Act, right? The Patriot Act. Think about that. The term itself.
Yeah, that's the most unconstitutional thing ever, the Patriot Act. And yet they've named it.
It's doublespeak, Orwellian doublespeak. Anyway, it's all around us, guys. It's happening, so beware. Brandon, what's up? Thumbs up, right back at you, buddy. Thanks for showing up. And all right, let's do it. Let's do it, Frank. Let's do Bob Lazar.
So who is Bob Lazar? Let's play the Bob Lazar introduction, and we'll get a good sense of who.
A once secret air base in the Nevada desert is marking an unofficial anniversary today.
Area 51 was one of the most secretive places on the planet, but that anonymity vanished forever because of what happened 25 years ago. A controversial electronics whiz told a fantastic tale during a TV interview, and the story still reverberates today.
The I-Team's George Knapp played a part in what became an international sensation. He's here with an update.
Setting the stage, Dave, you might not know this, but 25 years ago, a young anchorwoman named Paula Francis and I were prepping for the 5 o'clock news when we learned that our scheduled live interview had canceled. We placed a call to aviator John Lear to ask if he could get a friend of his to fill the spot, a guy who reportedly worked out near Area 51 and had seen flying saucers out there. It sounded outrageous at the time, but that interview with Bob Lazar turned Area 51 upside down. We coaxed a reluctant Lazar into returning to Las Vegas to talk about it.
I don't know. Sometimes I really do regret it, and I almost feel like apologizing to him, saying that, you know, I'm sorry I let things out. Can I have my job back?
25 years after he was forever transformed into Bob the UFO guy, Bob Lazar says he regrets ever talking about flying saucers or a secret base in the Nevada desert or any of the things that made his name known all over the world.
If there isn't a day I don't get emails, and you know, I try and get this across to him. Look, I don't even want to talk about it anymore. You know, well, I don't believe the story. Great, pass it around. You know, I really don't want you to, because it makes life difficult for me.
A quarter century ago, not many people outside of Nevada had ever heard of Area 51, the mysterious base 100 miles north of Las Vegas, a place the government said didn't exist. It was the location of choice for all manner of black projects, spy planes that were kept secret from the public. Former CIA pilot John Lear remembers the day that Area 51 became a household name. This is home video he shot as a KLAS news truck prepared to broadcast a live interview from Lear's home. Lazar was understandably nervous.
Yeah, he was nervous because he was putting it all out on the line there, and here he was going to, you know, reveal all this secret that he'd signed, you know, that he was going to never tell anybody.
It's not only a crime against the American people.
In the interview, Lazar's face was hidden, and he used a pseudonym, Dennis, which was the first name of his boss out in the desert.
Well, there's several, actually 9 flying saucers.
Lazar claimed he worked intermittently at a location called S4 south of Groom Lake, the main facility of Area 51. He said the hangars had been built into the side of a mountain disguised as desert, and inside were a set of 9 flying saucers. Months later, he revealed his identity to the world and said the technology he'd worked on was from somewhere else, that it was being taken apart to figure out how it worked.
Well, there you go. So if you guys don't know who this Bob Lazar character is, he's basically, if you're talking about ground zero of ufology, he's one of the names. Like if you're going to talk about Roswell and that crash as being one of the events, then this guy is definitely one of the early people that kind of catapulted this into the zeitgeist, into the news. So you see this as an actual news report, news article, which again, stop me if I'm wrong, but when do you see this? You turn on the mainstream media and it's not there anymore. They don't talk about this stuff, you know, for a number of reasons. But there you go. He's one of our favorites, one of the oldies, and part of what got us to do this show. So Bob Lazar. We're gonna continue here, but I got some comments. What do you think, Frank? Keep on trucking. Testing. 1, 2. Okay, no Frank. All right, so I'm gonna catch up on some comments. Benjamin says the media is part of the agenda too, guys. There you go. That's the absolute truth. Look up Project Mockingbird if you don't believe that's the truth, because the government is working with the media to tell us what they want you to hear. So it's definitely a thing. Michael says the original Area 51 whistleblower. Yep, that is Bob Lazar. Adam says that was created to label U.S. citizens as terrorists at will. And I think he's talking about the Patriot Act there. And then Braden says, what are your thoughts on what Stephen Greer says, that the government is plotting an impending fraudulent alien invasion? I think that's an interesting one. We talked about that a little bit as a false flag. And maybe, I mean, think about it. If you want to take over the world with an iron fist, I think that would be a way to do it, right? You spook everybody into saying the aliens are here, and then you pretty much just take all the power. That's that's better than the Patriot Act. Then you have the Intergalactic Patriot Act, and then it's martial law, and they can do what they want. So maybe it's an interesting thought, and I think we'll talk about that when we do the Stephen Greer show, which he is on the list, and we will do a show on him. Benjamin says, I remember, if I'm correct, he called into the Art Bell show. Yes, he did. He did more than once, actually. So going through making these clips and doing the show up, there's a ton of footage, a ton of interviews, and he did do a lot of press. So in some of the alternative circles, let's say. So he was definitely not hidden 20 years ago. He did get a lot of press, and he did get some interviews, and they're all on YouTube. Actually, take that back. They used to all be on YouTube. It's harder and harder to find some of those interviews that are complete and uncut. So read into that what you will, but I think that's what Frank was getting at. You with us there, Frank, or still technical difficulties?
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry. Discord had an accident there. Again, you can join Discord to communicate with us. That's what we use. But yeah, bit of a technical difficulty there. You're right, though. This guy was all over the world. He was in Japan, Russia, China, on the news everywhere. So this guy really did start Area 51. This guy is the guy. He's the one who popularized it. He launched all sorts of UFO chains around the area. That's why the highway is named the extraterrestrial highway that drives by there. This is the guy. So he was the one that really started this. It's a shame that they're taking the information away.
Correct. Okay. So another clip, or we got information here?
Yeah, so let's go through his story. So he's working at Area 51, and he's seeing some stuff, and we'll get into the specifics later about what stuff he saw. Why did he leak? Why did he come out and give all this information out? What was the purpose of it? So let's play the why he leaked clip.
All right. Why he leaked. There we go. Action.
Back in Las Vegas for a visit, Lazar recalls why he came forward in the first place. He had traveled to the S4 base only a handful of times, but began to get scared.
I began to get worried in that, boy, they've given me all this classified information. They're not calling me anymore. They won't take my phone calls. And in the meantime, apparently they're deciding what to do with me.
Look how bright it's getting. Look at it now.
For a variety of personal reasons, Lazar couldn't keep the story to himself. He shared his tale with John Lear and Gene Huff. They and a few others made treks out to the outskirts of S4 because Lazar said he'd learned when the test flights of the saucer would take place. 3 weeks in a row, a glowing object appeared over the mountain.
Look how bright it's getting. Look at it now.
And just a few minutes ago, we saw one of the government extraterrestrial UFOs.
The time when Bob said there would be a test, there was a strange light jumping around in the sky above the location where he said it would be at the time and date he said it would be.
You know, here, the craft took off when I said it was taking off from past the mountain range, which was Papoose Lake, S4, south of Area 51, you know, in a restricted area. So it's not like anyone was out there with a model plane or anything. And, you know, flew around, did incredible maneuvers that impressed everybody to the point where we got scared and got behind a car, fearing the thing was going to explode. But really, how do you explain that?
It's bright right now.
There you go. It's bright right now. What's up, Todd? Thanks for showing up. Talking about Bob Lazar. If you guys want to be part of the show, the number to call is 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link. We'll put you on Discord with Frank and Mike, and we'll talk about these things. We'll talk about Bob Lazar. We'll talk about UFOs. We'll talk about if it's possible that UFOs are here and they've been reverse engineered. We'll talk about all that stuff. We're about to get there. That's all Bob Lazar. So if you don't know who he is, stick around. It's one of those things where we think that he's being erased from the internet. So little by little, there used to be a ton of stuff. It's less and less, harder and harder to find. And here we go. What else we got, Frank?
Yeah, so he's out there working on these flying saucers, and we'll get into specifics in a bit. And he can't keep his mouth shut. So that's on him. And he tells his friends, and he brings them out there to see these craft flying, doing the test flights, and then they stop calling him into work. And he's, at that point, he must be thinking, oh shit, they're going to kill me, right? Something's going to happen, because he's leaked this information to his two close friends. They've taken videos, they're out in the desert. Someone probably saw them there. So he leaks this information to the media. And yeah, that's where the story starts, essentially. That's the beginning. Now, they try to discredit him. they try to take it away. So we've talked several times now about how they're essentially deleting videos from YouTube. They're taking away information about this guy. Well, they were even doing that back then. They were doing the same thing to this guy back then, back in the day, when he was first talking about the story. So, you know, nowadays they'll deplatform you. They'll take away the platform you have to speak. So they do that on Twitter all the time. You'll get banned if you talk about certain things. They completely deplatform people like Alex Jones talking about conspiracies. Well, back in the day, they were doing something different. They were depersoning you. They were taking away your identity as a person. So they can't do that nowadays, I don't think, because you have the internet, you have easy access to information that can be replicated. But back then, they were trying to deperson him, so they were taking away his identity completely to make him not important. So let's play the depersoning clip, and you'll see what I mean by that, where they're trying to delete this guy.
Lazar says he was referred to his government job by Dr. Edward Teller, the renowned scientist who helped develop the atomic bomb. But in a rare interview with Inside Report, Teller insisted he doesn't know Lazar, or at least doesn't remember him.
I think it appears that someone's trying to wipe him out.
George Knapp is the Las Vegas TV reporter who first aired Bob Lazar's amazing claims. He says he ran into unusual problems just trying to look into Lazar's background. Though Lazar claimed to have once worked at the Los Alamos National Laboratory, government officials denied they knew anything about him. But when Knapp came up with a phone directory listing Lazar's name, Los Alamos grudgingly admitted he had spent some time there. Officials at the hospital where Lazar was born even denied the simple fact he was born there, until Knapp tracked down the doctor who delivered Lazar.
I find Bob to be credible, and the main reason is because the story hasn't changed. It's stayed from the beginning. It's been the same. It hasn't expanded like some of these UFO tales you hear. It's been the same. And we've been through a lot of different interview sessions, many on camera, many more off camera. And it stayed exactly the same, consistent.
The I-Team confirmed Lazar had previously worked at Los Alamos National Lab, but we also reported his claimed education credentials could not be proven. UFO experts, including physicist Stan Friedman, also dug into his background.
I say, here's a bright guy. I did a lot of checking on him. I find a lot of things didn't check out. That doesn't mean I disagree with everything he ever said, or that he was a liar all the time. It means that I can't buy the story as presented. What all he did out there, I don't know.
Lazar says there's no end to the questions, and even if he could prove he worked at S4, someone would say he must have been the janitor.
There's your smear, guys. Bob Lazar must have been the janitor at S4.
So wow. Think about that. They called the hospital where this guy's born. And the hospital, of course, keeps meticulous records. They know each baby born there. And the hospital says, no, that never happened. This guy was not born at this hospital. And they denied that. You know, so even going back to his birth, they denied it. Going to his education, they've scrubbed that. Going to his employment history, they'll refuse to admit it until you find some kind of corroborating proof, some kind of evidence that, you know, they're obviously covering something up. And then they'll admit to it. Then they'll admit, yes, he worked at Los Alamos. Yes, he was born at this hospital. And so they've done, supposedly, they've done this with his education history, with all this kind of stuff. But think about that. Instead of deplatforming you, like they try to do today, they're just deleting you as a person. So to the point where they're deleting the record of your birth.
It is a thing. It is a thing. It's not the only case. I'm not going to go into some because there's some political sums. But there's some information out there where not only do they seal college records, they also maybe doctor birth certificates. So it's a thing. It's a thing. It's a thing. I'm not saying, you know, what you think I'm saying. I'm just saying that it does happen. The government has that power. So did that come through loud and clear? Okay. Couple more comments.
Yes.
Okay. Benjamin says, ask him what his thoughts are on Nikola Tesla having blueprints on UFOs. I find it interesting that Tesla had already been in contact, lost my place, with aliens and had blueprints of UFOs when he died. The government stole them and put patents on them. Yes, not quite related, but we have talked about Tesla, and we will do a show on Tesla. So check out our time travel episode. We did one on time travel, and we talked about Tesla quite a bit. And then Braden says, Whistleblowers are the true patriots. Amen, brother. You know, I'm split, but yeah, okay. Adam says, say goodbye to your First Amendment rights, folks. Goodbye to the First Amendment. Adios. And Adam says, I give it 5 years and then they're gone. Oh, geez. That's short, man. That's too short for me. We got to blow this show up within 5 years, right? We got to hustle it up. Todd says that he resembles Greer, talking about Bob Lazar here, and he says Greer is his misinformation replacement. So yeah, so Todd's opinion is that Bob Lazar was a government misinformation agent. So again, you know, open minds here. We're troubled minds, but we take all angles. So that's definitely a legit take. Thanks, Todd. Adam says, I agree. It's kind of like Alex Jones. Alex Jones was placed in his position to start up chaos and create doubt. Maybe. I mean, but what about the frogs? Weren't they gay? I mean,
yeah, I can buy some of that stuff where there's these controlled opposition people out there, but I think most of them are created unknowingly. So they maybe, and we'll talk about this later with Bob Lazar, maybe Bob Lazar was fed all this information. Maybe a theater performance was put on for him such that he believes this stuff, and then he goes and leaks it. But I don't think he's in on it. I don't think Alex Jones could keep his mouth shut if he was in on it. So I don't tend to lean that way on those sorts of issues.
Gotcha. A couple more comments and then we'll keep on trucking. Todd says Alex Jones didn't start getting outlandish until the last few years. InfoWars has been around for a long time and used to have some good info. And then Todd says no, Greer is the misinformation person. Okay. Again, we'll do one on Stephen Greer. All these guys, all these big names in the UFO circles, we'll touch on them eventually because we got Greer, we got Corey Good, we got Stephen Wilcock, we got we'll do all that stuff. It's coming, but you know, one bite at a time here. It's a big apple. You guys got to give us time. We'll get there. But yeah, okay. All caught up. Anything on YouTube, Frank? Any comments?
Nope, no comments yet. Now let's play one last background clip before we get into the specifics of what he leaked. So let's play the lie detector.
Bob Lazar claims our government captured alien spaceships, UFOs, and keeps them in a secret warehouse. And that's not all. Bob says Uncle Sam hired him to figure out how they fly. If you're skeptical, you have plenty of company. Lazar has been questioned and criticized. He even had to take a lie detector test. And that's when some people started believing him.
Now, before you toss Lazar on the pile with all the other UFO wackos, understand that he willingly agreed to take a lie detector test, requested and independently arranged by a Las Vegas reporter. Terry Tavernetti is the ex-cop who administered the test.
If he's lying, he ought to be in Hollywood, because he gave absolutely no physiological indications of attempting deception.
No physiological indications of deception.
Now, a lie detector isn't the best test. You know, you can fake it. It's not, I don't think it's admissible in some courts. It's not proof positive, but it's something, right? He's not sweating. He's not like shifting around in his seat. There's no physiological indications that he's lying. So we know he worked at Los Alamos, confirmed. We know he passed this lie detector test, confirmed. The rest of it, who knows? But we'll go with it. We'll get into the real story now, and we'll start this out. So, yeah, that's this guy. And that's kind of the background. That's where this whole thing's...
Okay, so before we get into the rest of this, remember, guys, talking about Bob Lazar, talking about any of the topics from earlier, Oumuamua, or some of the NASA stuff that we talked about. If you got comments on any of that, please give us a call, 702-957-1037. Remember, this number is now, what would you call it, perpetual. The number is now persistent. That's the word I'm looking for. So if you're listening to an archive of this and you have a comment on a particular show, give us a call. Leave us a voicemail. We won't be there to take your call, but leave us a voicemail and we'll play it on a future show and when we revisit this stuff. So there you go. 702-957-1037. Click on Discord. Get on the show. That's the best way to get your comments up here. All right. All right. Let's do it. What do you got, Frank?
So he says he was working at S4. What's S4? S4 is kind of a branch off Area 51 to the south of it, I believe, by that big salt lake. And he says there's hangars in the ground there where they're housing these crafts. Let's hear what he has to say about it. I think you've got a couple clips.
Sure do.
How long were you employed at S4, and when were you hired?
When was I hired at S4? I guess early '89, and I was probably there only about 6 months or so, on a very infrequent basis.
How were you transported to and from work?
At the time that I was working there at McCarran International Airport in Las Vegas, there was a Special Projects EG&G building. When I was told to go to work, I drove there, parked my car there, and got in a plane at the airport, flew to Groom Lake, where I deplaned and waited for a bus, and the bus drove me down to S4. The S4 facility is an area just off the Papoose lake bed, dry lake bed, and it consists of 9 hangars. The hangars have sloped doors on them with a sand texture coating. Around the opposite end of the hangars, there's the standard entrance where you're dropped off at, go through a security check, and inside there's a small complex. There's some office space, there's several laboratories, the hangars themselves, of course, and a few other places. I didn't have free reign to go wherever I wanted to. Everywhere I went to, I was essentially escorted, so that was really all about that I saw.
There you go. I think that says a little bit about something, that he couldn't walk around freely. He was escorted everywhere he went. So I think that that in itself kind of tells you a little bit about where he was specifically and the type of security level they were under. So there's the S4. You got more on S4? I got another clip here, Frank.
Yeah, so he's mentioning the flights to and from. So people have, again, because of the popularity of the story, people have looked into every single detail he's released. And there are flights, indeed, from Las Vegas every day, landing at Area 51 to transport personnel back and forth. There's a special name for the airline. I can't remember it off the top of my head.
I got it right here. I got it. It's called Janet Airlines. All right. And this is cool. Hold on. Let me read this real quick. Where is the Janet? All right. So Janet is the call sign for these aircraft. They're unmarked apart from the red stripe along the fuselage and ID number at the rear of the aircraft. They're Boeing 737s, and they shuttle workers to and from Area 51 as well as the Tonopah Test Range at the northern end of Nellis Air Force Base. So now this is from, regarding these flights, this is from Wikipedia, which, you know, as we all know is the, what's that? What would George Orwell call them? You guys know.
Ministry of Truth.
Yes. So straight from Wikipedia. Janet, sometimes called Janet Airlines, is the unofficial name given to a large and highly classified fleet of passenger aircraft operated from the United States Air Force to transport military and contractor employees. It mainly serves the Nevada National Security Site, most notably Area 51 and the Tonopah Test Range, from a private terminal at Las Vegas's McCarran International Airport. Now, if you go down there and you look from the Luxor and you look straight across into McCarran itself, you can see these planes. They're not there all the time, of course, because, you know, some of the time they're in wherever they're going, but they are there. It's verifiable. You can go there and actually look at them with your own eyes. Okay. Now, what does Janet stand for? Janet. Just another non-existent terminal. There you go. It's happening. This is happening, guys. This is a real thing. At least part of this is a real thing. So yeah, there you go. There you go, Frank. I got your backup.
No, again, exactly. Again, back in '89, he did, unless he was a master level private investigator who could, you know, pick up on all these details. This stuff wasn't widely known. People didn't know about this back then. And so it's only come out in recent years, checking into a story where these flights to and from the place have, you know, been confirmed and become widespread in the media. But he had the details. He had the details on how people were transported to the base. Let's play this second.
All right. This is S4, Part 2. Here we go.
Inside the facility, what was the basic layout? Were there underground levels?
I don't think there were any underground levels to it, though there could have been. I don't think it was you know, an extensive underground facility. It just looked like an installation that was butt up against a mountain. And you know, I didn't see any evidence of any stairs going down, elevators, or, but like I said, I don't know. There could have been, and I just might not have been permitted in those areas. It's difficult to really surmise how long it had been operational. Everything did look fairly new. By that I mean I don't think this installation was there in the early 70s. Nothing was worn. Things look fairly freshly painted. So, you know, as a ballpark guess, I would say it would really surprise me if the installation was older than 5, 7, 10 years, something like that.
A scientist killed in the project. What exactly happened there?
Allegedly, obviously, I didn't see this, and I don't know it to be fact, but this is what I was told, that I was hired to replace one of a couple people that were killed while working on one of the reactors from one of the crafts. Apparently, they, for whatever reason, cut open an operating reactor, and the device exploded, killing both of them. The scientists that were killed there, allegedly the detonation from the explosion was fairly large. It would have rivaled a small tactical nuke. So it was done at the Nevada test site, and it was to be passed off as an unannounced nuclear test.
Did you have any direct contact or communication with aliens?
No, not at all.
No, not at all. So he himself didn't actually, you know, shake hands, water cooler talk with aliens. So there's that. But he does have some other pretty startling revelations about S4 and Area 51. So, yeah.
Yeah. So I like this guy. I like people who say, I don't know. Stephen Greer, he never says, I don't know. He says, yes, and this is because of this and this and this and this. And then someone will ask him for more detail, and this is my interpretation. He'll just make it up on the spot. So I don't like that guy for that reason. But this guy here, Bob Lazar, he's saying, I have no idea. What about this detail? I don't know. You know, he's telling a story, and he's not adding details into it the entire time. So again, when someone says, I don't know, and they're admitting their own ignorance, a good tell for believability anyway.
At least partially, sure. Sure. Got a couple comments here. Can we catch up, Frank? Let's do it. All right. So Adam says, do you guys know that Carl Sagan is a fraud? You have to really follow him to see through it. The guy has the most misinformation. No, but I think maybe we need to do a show on him. We'll add him to the list. Thank you, Adam. Benjamin says, same blueprints Tesla had. Yeah, again, go back to that show, that time travel show. We talked about that and some of the things that were actually taken by Mr. Donald Trump's uncle. So got some pretty weird tie-ins with that. And then Benjamin says, I believe him, talking about Bob Lazar. And Todd says, the Janet planes, just another extraterrestrial. Yeah, there we go. And Mark says, I was watching Anunnaki documentary. And, oh, what's up? Thanks, Mark. Thanks for showing up. I thought, you know, hey. All right. And then he says, how's it going? So, good. Going good, man. Going good. We're just doing a show here, you know. Bob Lazar, Area 51, Groom Lake, S4, extraterrestrial craft, reverse engineered. So we're about to get to that point. So there we go. All right, we go have right. Let's do it.
Yeah. Carl Sagan, just a brief side note, is a traitor to the human species because he was part of the fucking, pardon my language, he was part of the ploy to basically tell aliens all about us, to tell us what we look like, where our planet's located, what kind of life we have there, how tall we are, all this kind of stuff. He's the one who sent that message out. So he's a horrible person.
Our chemical composition. Sent him like a Louis Armstrong record too, I think. Oh, geez. Okay.
Anyway, that's a brief aside. Okay, so this guy's working at Area 51. He's getting shipped in every day. He has all these details. He knows the test flight. What was this guy actually doing there? I don't think we've covered that yet. What was his job? Why did they hire him? What was the purpose of him being there in the first place? So he had degrees in physics and chemistry. Apparently. Again, they can't really back that up. It could be because they've scrubbed it, or it could be because the whole thing's a farce. You can decide on that. But why he was there is because he was interested in propulsion. So he actually built, as a younger person, a jet-powered car, right? He had a car, regular car, but it had a jet engine in the back of it. So degrees in physics, degrees in chemistry, builds a jet car. That's why he was there, because he's interested in propulsion. So that's his job, and that's what he was looking into. Now, He's reverse engineering these UFOs he saw. So he goes there to reverse engineer. Now let's go through some of these details. So the first detail is how these, and it was by element 115. So let's play the what is element 115 clip, and we'll hear it in his own words.
What is element 115? Is it found here on Earth, or is it strictly an extraterrestrial material?
115 is strictly an extraterrestrial material. It probably occurs naturally in some other places, maybe other star systems. Some people not familiar with science or chemistry say, well, that's ridiculous. All the elements occur on Earth, but that's not true. There are elements on the periodic chart that aren't found on Earth. I believe the Heavy Ion Research Lab in Darmstadt, Germany, has reached element 112 recently. So 115 isn't that far away. And when they synthesize it, it's not like they're making a couple ounces of it. They're talking about 1 or 2 atoms of it. To make any usable quantity of a heavy element like that is virtually impossible. Element 115 is stable. And for those familiar with chemistry, we know that elements with higher atomic numbers have shorter and shorter half-lives. However, when you reach a certain point, they call it the island of stability. There is a place, and we've theorized this for a long time, somewhere around 114 to 116, there should be an area in there where the nucleus of the atom is geometrically stable with protons and neutrons, where it no longer decays. It's not radioactive. 115 is, in fact, this element. In fact, it does occur again somewhere around element 247. Of course, we're nowhere near synthesizing that. We can only predict things like that, but that's where 115 is.
Did the aliens, give us element 115 in large quantities?
Whether or not it was given to us, I can't answer that question. However, I was told that we have 500 pounds by one of my co-workers. How it was obtained and where exactly it came from, I don't know. Whether it came in one of the crafts or it was separate cargo somewhere, anyone can speculate. But I was told that was the figure.
You were able to get away with a sample of element 115. How much did you get away with?
No comment.
No comment. Okay, so if you guys are just joining, we had a bunch of people just join. If you guys are just checking this out, we're talking about Bob Lazar. He's known in the 90s for working at Area 51, and actually has stated that we've reverse engineered UFOs for our own purposes. So pretty interesting stuff, and that was a clip about element 115. So that's how he claims these things are actually what would you say, their propulsion method. I guess that's how you would describe it. But I think Frank has some interesting things to say about element 115, because back when he talked about this stuff, it did not exist. But Frank, that's your key.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a few, again, more details we can look at and pick apart and kind of verify. So back when he made this prediction about element 115, we hadn't actually synthesized it yet. It only happened in 2014, where they made element 115. Again, that's not really a big deal, because I could say there's element 627, and maybe 20,000 years from now, someone will mash together element 627. The number just refers to the amount of protons in the thing, right? So hydrogen is element 1, and so on and so forth. But yeah, he's talking about element 115. He's correct also in this island of stability. So again, radioactive particles, they decay, they break apart, and so the more easy they come apart. But he's saying there that element 115 is in the right zone to be stable. Turns out he's wrong about that. Element 115 does decay, and because they've made it by now, so they know that. However, interestingly, element 117 is in this island of stability. So another couple of protons up to element 117, it is a stable, super heavy element. So, again, who knows if there's two ways to interpret this. One, well, he said element 15 is stable, so it's not stable. We know that now. He's lying. The second way to interpret it would be maybe that's what they were talking about. They weren't talking about element 115. They were actually talking about element 117. And that's what the aliens give them. That's what he absconded with when he took a sample away. Who knows? Like, I don't imagine he was actually measuring this element, but who knows? Again, so these things, some of the details here do line up. Some of them don't quite line up so much. Now, at the end there, he says he kind of took a sample. He smuggled some out. And here's another interesting detail, is he actually did form a corporation with Robert Bigelow. Now, you may remember Robert Bigelow from his famous aerospace company, the guy who purchased Skinwalker Ranch. But this guy, Bob Lazar, and Robert Bigelow did actually form a company shortly after all this happened. So did he give the Element 115 sample to Robert Bigelow? I don't know. I don't know what to think. So again, interesting details here. Some of them line up, some of them don't quite.
He did say no comment when they asked him how much Element 115 he got away with. So that's one of those rumors that that's been in the zeitgeist, in the ufology. It's they talked about, did this guy actually smuggle some away and do some interesting things, or get it to in the hands of some people that are doing those things with it now? He said that instantly, right? A lot of things he's very pensive about. He'll pause. He'll think about what he's saying. He'll hem and he'll haw. He'll say, when he asked him, how much did you get away with? He instantly said, snap said, no comment. Ooh. Interesting, eh? Interesting. Got some comments here, Frank. Want to take a time out real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so here we go. Michael says, all the aliens stay at Dulce. He could have been used as an intergalactic repairman. Hey, maybe. We did one on Dulce base, too. Look at the deep underground bases with, what was that guy's name? Phil Schneider. Bill, hello, Mike and Frank. What's happening, Bill? Benjamin, yes, he was talking about Carl Sagan, and a traitor to humanity, I believe, is when this comment came out, and Greer is a fraud, says Benjamin. Michael says, green people, not frogs. Hey, man, I was just making a joke about Alex Jones. Todd says, wow, 27 people watching. 26. He's counting. Somebody's counting. I'm not counting, but somebody's counting. Adam says, FBI. Oh, shit. Should I expect a knock on my door? And then Michael says, this, haha, the spy keeps jumping in and out. Oh, geez. Okay, so we might be on the watch list, Frank. It might be official. Benjamin says, if I'm wrong, Element 115 is now called dark matter, which is what CERN is trying to create. They just don't call it that anymore. I cannot confirm or deny, but that's a good theory. I like that. And he says, so is CERN contracted to create Element 115 for the deep state? Any thoughts? That's probably a whole show. Michael says...
sorry to interrupt. It's called Moscovium, if you want to look it up, is Element 115.
Okay, there you go. Moscovium. There's something happening with the stream here. If the Facebook stream trips, let me know, guys, because there's something freaking out here. It's trying to make me log in and log out or something. So anyway, if it's not... Oh, shit. Okay, so, and then Adam says, CERN is going to blow us up or shoot us into another dimension. Maybe. Yeah, maybe. Oh, shit. I think I just killed the stream. Okay.
Okay. Do you need to check, or what's going on?
Yeah. Let's hang out. Let's find out what's going on here. It says we're live. It says we're still live. YouTube. Yeah, like after they made those FBI statements, like this shit started freaking out. Like that, literally, it was like you must log in. Yeah. Let's hang out. Let's find out what's going on here. It says we're live. It says we're still. Okay, so I guess we're live. No, it says I'm watching the live video. YouTube is working? Okay. I'm putting up a poll. I think we might have just got bumped offline, guys. I'm putting up a poll. It's trying to make me log in here, but I'm logged in. Oh my goodness. Okay, it says we're still live. Okay, whatever. We're going to keep on trucking. It's bumped me to a visitor. I don't have an admin panel anymore, but all right, we're still live. Okay, it bumped me off, told me to log in, and I couldn't, and then it said, you must leave, so I left, and then here we are. Okay, anyway, so we're still live. Where were we? My bad.
Okay, so Element 115 is the power source, right? It's the power source for these UFOs. So how does the reactor work? How does the Element 115 work in the reactor to provide propulsion for these UFOs? So let's play how the reactor works.
All right, how does the reactor work? Let's find the clip here. All right, action.
Element 115 is in the top of the reactor, and the base of the reactor apparently is a small, something similar to a cyclotron. It's a particle accelerator. a particle is accelerated to high speed and then deflected up a small tube, and it's aimed at the 115. This transmutes the 115, similar to the way we do that in a normal particle accelerator. This causes a reaction, a radiation emission that we really haven't seen before. It produces antimatter. This antimatter is guided down a tuned tube and reacts with a gas. When matter and antimatter react, they convert to 100% energy. This energy is converted, heat energy, is converted to electrical power in the reactor itself. This is done through a thermoelectric converter. And this electrical power is used to power other subsystems on the craft, though there is no wiring, as we would know it. Also, that's almost a byproduct of the reactor. The reactor also sets up a gravitational wave from the 115 being bombarded. This gravitational wave was present at the top of the reactor and is essentially guided in the same way microwaves are guided, through tuned tubes. And this goes to their amplifying cavities and through the projectors that are in the bottom of the craft.
With the gravity generators running, is there thermal radiation danger to the crew?
There is no thermal radiation while the reactor is running. The thermionic generator is 100% efficient, which is in violation of the first law of thermodynamics. But in fact, it works.
But in fact, it works anyway. Screw the first law of thermodynamics. I can't even say it. We don't even need that. We need this. Whatever he's talking about, that's what we need. Crazy stuff.
So there we go. So we got element 115. It's being bombarded by particles. It's producing antimatter. The antimatter is producing heat to power the craft, and it's also influencing gravity in some way. Now, looking into this detail here, antimatter is actually real. Again, I think we see antimatter weapons in science fiction. We say, oh, that's false. Antimatter is created all the time. Even in the universe, when high energy particle collisions take place, they produce antimatter. And even at CERN, I think it was this year, they successfully made antihydrogen atoms and kept them stable for 17 minutes. So they're actually creating this stuff nowadays. They're creating antimatter. And this is back in 1989, where not a lot was known about this, but Bob Lazar here is saying that element 115 somehow acts as a catalyst to produce antimatter, and that fuels this UFO space reactor. Does that make sense?
No. But I mean, I'm sure it makes sense, but that's just way over my head. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Is this real? What do you guys think? Is this a real thing, or is this just a bunch of blah, 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 blah? Bob Lazar, reverse engineered UFOs. He's talking about how they did it, talking about element 115. If you guys have some takes on this, Kenny says, what's up, Kenny? He says 0-point energy. That's cool. Yeah, that's cool. Christian says, I know, it's right. Or whatever. Yeah, right. So yeah, if you guys want to comment on this, or you have some takes, or you're a physicist or whatnot, and can kind of set it straight and say, no, Bob Lazar was full of crap. Fine, we want to take that. We want to hear it. All of that stuff is evidence. All of that stuff is actually something that needs to be talked about here. So is he a fraud? Or was this actually something that happened? So if you have a take and you got information, or you just want to say hi, give us feedback on the show, please give us a call. This is live, so if you're watching, November 4th. Is that the day I said? Yes, it is, November 4th, on the West Coast. 10:26 Pacific time. If you're watching right now, we are live. So you can give us a call, 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link and Little Green Men. We will put you on the show. You can talk to Frank and Mike about UFOs, about Bob Lazar, about UFO reverse engineering. Talk about all this stuff. So Mark says, I believe Bob. And Todd says, yes, it's real. So we got some comments. I'm going to put up a poll here as you continue here, Frank. But I'm going to ask the question, is this stuff real? Or is this BS? Hogwash? Hocus pocus? Disinformation.
Again, from what I can tell looking into this, yes, we can produce antimatter. Yes, hitting heavy metal elements like uranium and so forth with high energy particles would produce antimatter. He goes on here about gravity, that somehow hitting element 115 with these these particles makes some kind of gravity effect. I don't quite, there's no basis of understanding for that I could find anywhere. I don't think we can make anti-gravity yet. But again, interesting. Keep in mind, 1989. So he's talking well out of his depth at that point. And this is before particle accelerators. This is before any of this kind of stuff. And he seems to be somewhat knowledgeable on the subject. Now, element 115, his depth of that produces antimatter before particle. I was hearing myself for a second. Produces antimatter. The antimatter powers the craft. Now, what does the craft actually do? How does it work? Let's play the how does the craft work?
All right. How does this craft work? Let's see.
It produces a gravity wave, which is similar to the gravity wave that the Earth produces. However, the craft phase shifts the wave. In other words, it turns the wave not really in an opposite polarity, but something to that effect, where it will work against the natural gravity wave of the Earth, and it produces lift in that effect. Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field. Being inside that field essentially doesn't shield you, but essentially you're in, and this is a terrible way to say it, almost in a different realm, because you're now influenced only by that gravitational field. For instance, people wonder how a craft like this can make a turn at such high speed, a 90-degree turn, when they would imagine people slamming up against the wall or something to that effect. Well, that really wouldn't happen. Inertia would have no effect. You're in a distortion, and don't forget that gravity distorts time and space, so really nothing is going to influence you while you're in there. There are 3 amplifiers. The craft can operate on a single one, can lift off the ground. The way in which it's propelled are 2 different ways. There's what they call Omicron configuration, where the craft is using one generator, or a Delta configuration, where it's utilizing all 3. Delta configuration would be for space travel. Essentially, the craft will tilt up on its side, as opposed to a science fiction movie where you see a flying saucer moving around. The craft will tilt up on its side, focus the 3 gravity generators to a single point, and move through space that way. Moving around the source of gravity is a problem to a disk because it's interference, essentially. So what they do is they work with that interference to their benefit. They'll use one gravity generator to lift the craft off the ground. And as opposed to what we're used to, for instance, a plane, once it's in the air, we envision thrust or some force coming out the back of it to push it forward. The crafts work completely opposite of that. What they do is once they're hovering in the air, they'll swing the 2 remaining gravity generators up in front of them and create a distortion, essentially a downhill. And the craft rolls downhill for infinity. It's always chasing a little distortion. That's why they look goofy when they fly around at low speeds, because they're essentially, and any time you run over, the gravity field around the Earth is not completely constant and stable, depending on the minerals and density of the Earth underneath it. The gravity will vary somewhat, and you will get odd movements of the craft. So its low-speed mode is kind of unstable for the most part.
There you go, kind of unstable, so it has to move quickly. Todd says basically he's saying it works like a magnet pushing against the opposite pole of gravity. There you go. That's a good way to break it down.
Yeah, so again, he's really, I think we have some pictures of the sketches and kind of what people have derived from that, if you can pull them up. But again, element 115 produces antimatter in this reactor. This reactor also somehow makes these gravity waves. And yeah, this thing flies around. There's no rocket engine coming out the back. There's nothing like that. If it wants to go up, it makes gravity up. If it wants to go down, it makes gravity down. If it wants to go to the side, it does that too. So these gravity generators, again, quite interesting, quite a novel concept for the time, for 1989. We've kind of heard about this stuff in science fiction nowadays, largely, I think, from Bob Lazar. But back then, a novel concept, entirely novel concept. Now, he says something very interesting here, and if you've been listening to the show for quite a while, you'll know we've covered this idea that some of these UFOs are invisible, that when we look at them with our naked eye, we can't see anything. Pictures, cameras, whatnot, you cannot see anything. But when we look at them with an infrared camera, we actually do see something in the air. And we've showed clips to this effect several times now, 5 or 6. This is a lot of what's coming out of Tom DeLonge Into the Stars, but we've seen it in Brazil, other places like this, where you cannot see these things with your naked eye, but you can see them with an infrared camera. So he says something interesting here. Again, 25 years before any of this sort of information is coming out, he says something quite interesting. Let's play the invisible craft.
Because it produces a gravitational field, I wouldn't say the craft is invisible during the day. However, if you're under the craft, because of the way the gravity is being used, gravity bends time and space, and it bends light. If you are looking underneath the craft or from certain vantage points, you will actually see what's above the craft. It's really a trick of the way light bends under the influence of gravity. For instance, we can see stars that are behind the sun, that are blocked from our view by the sun. The reason we can see them is because the sun has a tremendous gravitational field, and it's bending the light around it where we can see the star.
Okay, so again, just like Frank said, if you guys have been following, we've talked about To the Stars Academy. We have an entire show on that. They talked about the infrared and how you can't see these things with the naked eye. Okay, this is current. This is 2017, 2018. In what was this? 1989, Bob Lazar was talking about this and saying that these actual craft cannot be seen with the naked eye under particular conditions. And he, in the clip there, he actually talked about those conditions. So tell me, again, here we go. We get a direct parallel of granted, Tom DeLonge, I roll my eyes. Blink 182, I roll my eyes. He's got three actual videos, okay? But none of them can be seen with the naked eye, but they all show up on infrared. Now we have Bob Lazar, 1989. He's talking about this stuff. I don't know. That's a pretty intriguing parallel. We're talking a lot of years between now and then, and there's been a lot of smear against Bob Lazar. There's been a lot of disinformation. I'm assuming, of course, because I don't have all the answers, but definitely smear for sure against Bob Lazar. And on top of that, he seems to have been right in a number of cases here. Like, time has proved him more or less correct. Yes? Am I right there, Frank? It seems like this is a thing.
Yeah, definitely. Again, all these little details, they're adding up. They're adding up over time. Like talking about antimatter, talking about these elements, talking about gravity. They're all adding up. And so this invisible craft thing, that caught my attention. Because that's what we're seeing nowadays, right? And think about it. Again, so light would bend around the object. Just like it bends around our sun, we can see stars behind the sun. Light bends around this object. But maybe the object is heating up the air around it. So the air around the craft, it's being heated up, or the metal of the craft is being heated up. That hot air is releasing infrared radiation, so the infrared cameras pick it up. But visible light bends around it, so it seems invisible. That's pretty compelling to me. That's pretty interesting from 1980.
I agree. We got a ton of comments just rolling through here. Everybody's talking about the technology here. So Christian says, "What's up, Christian? Thanks for showing up." He says, "Because it's the heat, it gives off the energy right when it sees." I'm not exactly sure if I read that right. And then Kenny says there is no heat though. And Christian, what kind of technology do you think it is? Well, it's some kind of energy, so it's cloaking. And somebody further up the comments mentioned cloaking. So if this is an actual way to cloak a craft, just by this technology itself, and you don't really need a cloak itself, like an actual, Star Trek cloaking device. Bob Lazar said in 1989, you can't see this thing. Unless it's daytime and it's moving really slowly and it's really close to you, right? I think that was his parameters there. But otherwise, you're not going to see this thing. If it's moving at any kind of velocity and up in the air, you won't see it. So interesting. So Christian says, but infrared is with some time of power. I'm not sure, no, it's heat. It's heat. But like Frank said, it's not the craft itself that's maybe heating. It's the air around it that we're seeing with the infrared. Fred, who's here in the chat, he recently got an infrared, one of the modern infrared cameras there, so he can keep a look and check this stuff out, because apparently it's happening. It's happening all over the world. This isn't just yeah. Anyway, so Todd, good claim here. He says it's not cloaking, it's phasing with time distortion. Yeah, there we go. I think again, you know, like all the speculation here is great. Thank you guys for all the comments, but we don't know. If anybody, let's put it this way: if anybody's actually flown one of these things, would you please call us? Would you just call us and clarify this?
Interesting. You talk about a caller, because it seems we have a caller here in Discord. So I'll move him in. Oh, he disconnected. Never mind. He got
cold feet. All right. So if you guys have flown one of these things, or know anything, or have some fantastic takes on this, we want to hear it. Again, we do this live for that reason exactly. Okay. We want you guys to call and tell us what's up, because we Frank and I, like we said, we can talk about this by ourselves all we want, but it's more exciting. It's more educational. We learn things from you, vice versa, I'm sure. Please give us a call. We want to hear your take on this. Is this a real thing? Is this have anything to do with Tom DeLonge and To the Stars? Is this completely unrelated? Is this all BS? And CNN and Fox News are the ones that have it right. We'd love to hear any of that, any of those takes. Please give us a call, 702-957-1037. Click on the Discord link. We'll put you in Discord with us, and you can tell us what you think. So, yeah, that's what we're doing. That's how we're doing this, and we're still talking about Bob Lazar. We're talking about UFOs and reverse engineering these things from actual alien technology. What do you guys think? Is this legit? Is this not? Is this BS? Is Bob Lazar real? I think he's real. He looks like he's real, and he doesn't look like a lizard person to me. How about you, Frank? You think he's a lizard?
Yeah, I don't know. And I think the important thing is, ooh, I'm hearing myself. The important thing is he'll even say he doesn't know, and that's really important to me anyway, that he doesn't know. But again, this detail about these invisible craft, it's lining up with what we have today. So this guy's back in the caller queue. I'm going to drag him in. Why don't you say hello to him, and we'll see if he's a troll.
All right, we got a caller. You are on Troubled Minds with Frank and Mike. What's happening? What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
I'm from Thailand.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, goodbye.
Oh, he's just enjoying some of the Martian Red Kush and listening to the show. So good for you, caller. Thank you for coming.
I guess so. Thank you. I think we might need a translator. If anybody can translate what that language is, please let us know. We'll get that caller back on. We'll do a direct translation during the show. Thanks for the call. Okay, tons of comments rolling through here. Everybody's got all kinds of takes here. More important, guys, give us a call. It's hard for me to read all this stuff, and you guys have all different takes. So if you have an actual thing you want to say, give us a call, 702-957-1037. We will talk about it directly, the three of us here. And it's hard for me to parse so many comments rolling through about what technology this might be. So if you actually have an idea, there we go. I'm going to post it. Benjamin wants to know what the number to call again. I'm going to put it there. I'm going to put it right in chat. Look at the top of the stream. It's right there. It says Bob Lazar Revisited, Troubled Minds Radio. Numbers right on top. And you should be able to click it. I'll type it in anyway. Okay, so what are we talking about? This is a technology that 702-957-1037. I read it 100 times, Todd. He says read it. 702-957. Type in it as well. 1037. But is this legit? Like, what is this? Oh, we got a couple callers now. People are calling. We got people calling in. Okay.
Good, let's hear it.
All right, I'm taking a couple calls. Here we go. Let's see. Take them in order. Good evening. You're on Troubled Minds with Mike and Frank. What's happening? What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Hey. No, my name's Matt.
What's up, Matt?
I'm in Iowa.
Matt from Iowa. What's your take, man? You think this thing is real?
Matt
What's
from
going
Iowa.
on?
Well, no, dude, I literally just hopped on in the last 5 minutes, but I'm curious. The speed of light, it's got to create heat, it's got to create energy. Would that have anything to do with us not seeing it?
It could be. I think the problem is, so if you're familiar with the To the Stars Academy, they've got the infrared going on these things, but they're not moving quite at the speed of light. So they've actually got like modern fighter aircraft tracking these things. So they're going at ridiculous speeds when they want to, but they're going slow enough to where we can track them with our actual terrestrial craft. So I think you're right.
But we can't see them.
Right, exactly. We can't see them. Exactly. Without infrared. Apparently that's how they show up. They show up on the infrared camera. So, and if you go back and look, we did a show called To the Stars Academy. And on there, those videos are there. We talked about this specific thing. And you can see the two different takes in the video where the one is with infrared, one is without. And it's literally invisible or visible. It's a pretty crazy phenomenon. What do you think, though? Can you hear him, Frank?
No,
yeah, so there was the one.
I think I've seen that video where was that like somebody recording in a park. There were a couple trees and there was nothing, and then they showed it in infrared and you could see it move through slightly.
Yeah, that could be. Those aren't the ones we're talking about. The three that we're referencing are actually with fighter jets and their infrared cameras. So. The one you're talking about I haven't seen, but it definitely lines up with all of the things we're talking about tonight. So, yeah, definitely.
So, are these things, well, would they use something close to the speed of light? Like, I mean, if you're traveling that fast, they have to create energy. Energy, I mean, theoretically creates heat, correct?
Yes. Yes. Okay. So the thing is, you want to take this one, Frank? I can take this if you don't want it.
Yeah, definitely. I think he said this thing was defying the laws of thermodynamics, where it was 100% energy transfer. But I think you're right, is that as this thing moves through the atmosphere, for example, it's going to create friction, and that friction will release heat, and we'll see that heat through infrared. And as this thing's moving through space, well, we really don't know, because if it can reduce gravity, it can reduce the mass of the object. And if it can reduce the mass of the object, it could theoretically.
Okay, but if it can reduce that, could it reduce, I guess, the friction in front of it to not create the heat? I'm not trying to disprove anything. I fully believe these things traveling at whatever speed they're going to, but if they can defy gravity, couldn't they at least try to, I mean, at least hide themselves better than infrared?
Yeah, definitely. It could probably use the gravity to move the air out of the way, to create such a gradient of gravity that the air molecules themselves move out of the way. Again, we really don't know. So we're exploring this topic together.
Well,
we're not sure.
No, I know we don't know. Everybody tells me I'm fucking crazy, but sorry.
You're not crazy, Matt from Iowa. You are not crazy, brother. You're not. You're in the right place. That's for sure. Anything else before we move on to the next call?
No. I just that was my only question. If they could at least, I mean, if they can defy gravity, they could displace heat. Which they can do that. Shouldn't they be able to get around the infrared? Maybe they're not looking for us to look at them in infrared. I don't know. Nobody knows. But I don't know.
You know what? That would have been
I think that's it.
Yeah, exactly.
That would have been my final thought. Like, I don't think aliens are too smart. I think they don't think we're looking at them. I don't think they think we have these cameras, and so they think they'll get away with it. That's my.
I was about to say the same thing. Not the aliens aren't smart, but possibly they got away with it.
Smarter than that. Like, I mean, it's simple. It's basic infrared. Like that.
You would hope.
I mean, like that'd be like, dude, I can buy one of these little cameras from Home Depot for $54. Like, you know, just a little thing, the thermal, little laser pointer that tells me what the heat on the wall is.
Yeah,
I
Todd,
can buy that. But
exactly. Todd comments, maybe they just don't care. Like they don't care that we see them. I think that's pretty spot on. So they're either not trying too hard and. You know, we've got nobody looking through infrared as a society pretty much here, and so they got away with it for 1,000 years, and so they don't really care. You know, we're no threat to them, so I can buy that definitely. Hey, Matt from Iowa, thanks for the call, buddy. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, thanks, man.
You're the best. Have a good night, eh?
Bye.
Interesting points, bro.
Next caller. Oh, yeah, we're moving on to the next one. Definitely interesting points. Thanks for the call. You're on Troubled Minds with Frank and Mike. First name, please, and where you're calling from.
Benjamin, and I'm calling from Virginia.
Benjamin from Virginia. Welcome. What's on your mind, sir?
Yes. Yeah. Well, I've been watching the show. I'm a first-time caller to y'all's show. I know y'all just started the show, but a lot of the time, I got a couple things. For one, okay, they call the particle 115. All right. Well, we all know they don't call it 115 no more. They call it dark matter, which is what CERN is trying to create. And I made a comment about that, and you guys pretty much answered it. But my question is on these Vamenia is if they use time as a basis of travel, okay, wouldn't that cause time travel? I mean, if they're bending time around these so-called Vamenias, okay, back-engineered UFOs, wouldn't it cause some sort of like distortion in time to where they either go forward in time or back in time to like I don't know, like another alternate reality or something like that? Because I've been doing a lot of research on them. You know, like a few years ago, I really wasn't heavy on the UFO stuff until a few years ago. I saw a TR-3B up close. Okay, scared the shit out of me. But anyway, I started doing some digging on it, and that's when I came across, you know, about the comments I made with Tesla. That's when I came across, you know, of a lot of Tesla's inventions and how he was supposedly in contact with aliens and how he had all these blueprints and stuff. But another thing too is if that be the case and they use time, if they use a bubble to bend time to go at high speeds, wouldn't that contradict what the previous caller just said about them giving off some sort of heat? You see where I'm going with this? Because if they have to bend time, they're going so fast, we're not even going to be able to see them until they actually start to slow down. And that's when it almost seems like they go so fast, they start to bend time, and then they disappear. Well, when they slow down, like in the atmosphere, you could start seeing them shoot in through the atmosphere, and then all of a sudden, once they start slowing down is when they start creating heat. Any thoughts on that?
I think that's.
Or did I mix you guys
I think
up
that's
a little?
exactly right. I think you're exactly right with that. Is we're not seeing them in space. We're not seeing them. We're only ever seeing them in the atmosphere, and that's when they're creating this heat. So, and the second point about time, once you control gravity, which is what Bob Lazar is saying here, once you control gravity, yes, you do control time, because time-space is gravity, is time. So certainly that would explain how they get from a distant galaxy here in their lifetimes. Presumably they're not immortal. Presumably they're not sending out these missions 100,000 years into the past. So that explains a lot. If they can control time, they can get here in a timely fashion and do whatever nefarious activity.
Cattle mutilation.
Because, well, the reason I bring up the thing about the time is because history has proven, like during World War II, okay, Hitler was building these Verminias, all right, using technology that was stolen from Tesla from the Third Reich, which I don't know if you guys know about any of that, but that was a known fact that the Third Reich stole some of Tesla's designs, and Hitler was in contact with these so-called alien entities. But my question is, also during World War II, there was a lot of those Verminia that look like they came from our present back into the past, from the descriptions that I have read and from what I have studied. Now, could it be that the government was doing some sort of a black book project to where they took these back-engineered Vaminias that they created and built using crashed UFOs and Tesla's blueprints and designs and some of the designs that Hitler had, going back in time and changing the course of history?
You know, I think
that's another thing that needs to be asked too.
Yeah, I think all that stuff is on the table because we're talking about black budget projects, right? We're talking about a government that really doesn't tell us anything about anything. And so here we are, we're kind of piecing together what we have based on some whistleblowers, based on some schematics that aren't accurate, based on some testimony that has been smeared over and over the decades. And, you know, you can go back to the very first UFO counts, and they're still smearing those. Like one way or the other, they're being
Yeah.
forgotten or they're being smeared. So I think all the things you just said are completely relevant and possibly, yes, on the table. We can't discount any of that. You know, interdimensional beings. When you change the actual time frame that you are currently in, do you actually become part of another universe itself? Or do you somehow alter the one you're in? Or, you know what I mean? There's so much here that, yeah, like all of that we have to take into account, because you never know. You really never know, especially with the information we're given. And like I said, we're playing with 2% of the data. That NASA doesn't tell us anything. The government doesn't tell us anything. We get Bob Lazar, and they want to call him a quack, and they want to say that he's full of a bunch of BS here. So you're right. All that stuff you're saying.
Well, I
is
got
spot
one
on.
more thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
I got one more thing I want to say. Okay. All right. Now, my first UFO encounter, I was actually 5 years old. Okay. Now, I'm not going to say that this was a TR-3B. This seemed to be an actual UFO, and it kind of hovered above our house for a good 15, 20 minutes. Me being 5 years old, I didn't really understand. Well, about 3 years ago, when I started getting really heavy into the research of it and CERN and, how these UFOs travel and Tesla and in the Third Reich about, them creating Verminia and stuff like that, what got me actually into it was where I was living at. Now, I wouldn't say this if my daughter didn't see it, but my daughter saw it with me. We happened to be standing outside one night, and then all of a sudden it went from being a clear night to clouds, okay? And I'm looking at my daughter, I'm like, well, this is weird because, it's no clouds in the sky, but all of a sudden these clouds just came out of nowhere. I mean, just popped out of nowhere. Well, we were standing outside, I was smoking, and I was talking to her, and as the clouds cleared, we saw this solid black triangular shade. This wasn't a circle disc, this was triangular. So, it was, I'm going to say it was like not even 100 feet from the roof of our house. Now, I live in Virginia, so very rarely do you see UFOs in this state. But as it was moving across the sky, I'm going to say it was about at least 100 to 200 feet above the roof of our house. As it was moving, there was no sound, no nothing. And as it was basically coasting, like, I don't know, like if you're in a regular fishing boat, how you just coast on water. But the clouds started clearing. I mean, this thing was freaking humongous. I mean, and like I said, I wouldn't admit to it if my daughter didn't see it, but my daughter saw it with me. So, and that's what really got me into this UFO thing and doing, the history behind it. And I'm a big fan of Tesla. Okay, and from what I have researched on him was that because I made a comment because Lazar said that it talked about how they use some sort of electricity. Well, I was going to say that they were powered originally by electricity, but somehow, since CERN had been built, somehow or another, this element 115, ever since we've created it, they don't use electricity no more. It seems like the only time they use electricity is actually to start these things up. I don't know how they start them, I couldn't tell you. But that's the idea that I'm getting at. But I don't know. I just wanted to share that with you guys.
Okay, we appreciate it, man. That's why we do the show, because like we say, if you watch the show, we talk about history happens to everybody, and just you don't have to be a Kennedy or a president or those are the accounts you hear, but just what you told us, you're talking about some amazing things that happened to you, Benjamin from Virginia, right? So. That's why we do the open lines. That's why we do this show. That's why we don't require you to have a UFO blog or, know Linda Moulton Howe or something like that to call us. We want you to call us and tell us these things. So thank you so much for the call, man. You're the best.
Oh, you're welcome.
Have a good night. Thanks for listening, man.
Yeah.
All right. We've got another call. We're going to go to the next call.
Okay. Keep them coming.
Keep them coming. All right, here we go. All right. Anybody there? Software's glitching? Okay, there we go. All right. You are on Troubled Minds with Frank and Mike. Your first name and where you're calling from, please.
My name's Kenny in Arizona.
Kenny from Arizona. What's happening, buddy? What's on your mind?
Well, it was pretty interesting that the caller before me said something about him seeing a UFO above his house and all that. And I too, like, I wouldn't say this, just, it was just me and my girlfriend just were paying attention to, you know, random topics. We were just talking. And then I noticed, like, because I've read a couple books, like, about different spacecrafts, different beings using different types of energy. It just depends on the being, you know? So I've read. But, like, it was at night. It was, like, what, 2:30 in the morning, Arizona, Phoenix. And, well, you know, I was just paying attention to the roof of my house. My girlfriend, she was just looking, like, at the house, I guess. And, like, 5 seconds, I had noticed something hovering, like, it was just hovering and, like, above our home. And it was weird because it didn't look like an orb. It didn't look triangular. It looked like actual body shape of huge shoulders and, like a cross, kind of. And as soon as I laid my eyes on it, and it just zipped away. Like, you hear, like, pop. And a streak of light, bluish green light, followed it. And I thought I was going crazy. I was like, hey, well, maybe we should go inside. We're just probably tired. By the time I was going to say that, there was a big, bright light. Like, it wasn't white. I can't describe it. It was just blinding. It encompassed us all. Like, me and my girlfriend couldn't see our hands in front of each other for I don't know how long. and well, that's when it pretty much hit me. I was like, whoa, you know, all these things about time warp and the elements and all, I get that. But, you know, that's just to explain for science and stuff. But
okay,
like that moment, I thought I was just going crazy because, you know, there was no clouds in the sky, there was no rain, nothing for it to produce a light like right in front of us.
Okay. So let me ask you.
For instance,
So did you have any actual lost time? So there was this giant bright flash, kind of like maybe a nuclear explosion type of thing, where it literally wiped out everything you guys couldn't see, right? Like that type of thing. And let me say, you're not crazy, man. This stuff happens to other people. So, you know, like, it's okay. Like that's why we do this. That's why we're here. That's why we're talking about these things. So did you experience any lost time?
Yeah, that's what my girlfriend and I were, like, researching about. We were like, well, if we did lose time, I wasn't paying attention to anything, like the clock or nothing. But the crazy thing is that, like, it was bright, man. Like, I saw the roof of my house just light up, and it's like I was blind. And that's the thing that me and her were talking about. Maybe, you know, we did lose time, but, you know, we were just having a good time between each other. And I thought, because I read something about our auras and chakras and stuff like that, when they're in the energy that we produce is stronger than actual light from, like, electricity, because we are electricity, you know? So I've read. So that's the thing that got me going. I was like, well, most of this stuff is kind of mind-boggling, but hey.
That's why we're here, man. We're talking about it. Anything there, Frank?
Yeah, it's interesting there's no sound, right? Because if these things were using gravity to move, you wouldn't hear sound. You wouldn't hear a propeller rotor. You wouldn't hear an airplane engine. You wouldn't hear a rocket. It would be completely silent. And that sounds like what you experienced.
That's the crazy thing, man, because there wasn't anything. I just seen, like, it was gold and white. And as soon as I looked at it again, like, it zipped away, like, and when it did zip away, it left like a bluish greenish streak in the sky. And I told my girlfriend, look at that. She's like, I think it was just a shooting star. And I'm like, well, that's after the light hit us, you know? When she said that, I was like, well, I guess. I mean, that was like the best experience that we've had. Because I experienced another thing just looking towards the Air Force Base, I just seen like a couple of like weird looking orbs, and they split up from one big orb and they just disappeared all of a sudden. So I was like, well, maybe it's just their jets. You know, who's to say? But yeah, I wouldn't get too into that. I thought I was going crazy at that one too, but you know, my ex-girlfriend was watching me with that one.
I'm curious that you have a witness every single time. Now we got witnesses, so not just you. So you're not crazy. You got a witness with you, and you're seeing this stuff happen. And like we said, it happens to people, man. Like again, you know, we're not doing this show because we think this is a joke. We're doing this because this stuff happens. It's not being talked about, you know. And you know, one more time, and why we have open lines that allow you to call. Because you know, if we like, I joke like if we were like the government, we would continue to just say what we say and not take colors. But yeah, hey, Kenny from Arizona, thanks for your call, man. We appreciate you listening. We appreciate your input. And yeah, call back anytime, man. Call back anytime. We stream Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, 9 p.m. Have a good night, man.
Yeah, I'll keep watching. You too. Thanks.
All right, thanks a lot, man. Later.
Yeah, this kind of stuff happens to everyone. It's not just these crazy people. It's regular, down-to-earth folk that see this kind of stuff all the time. And the media and the government and the news has conditioned us to think we're crazy, conditioned us to believe that this doesn't exist. It's almost like, I think a lot of people nowadays would look up to see a UFO and they'd just say, oh, I'm clearly too tired, I'm clearly too hungover, clearly too stoned. I'm not actually seeing what I'm seeing. And that's the mind control that they put over top of us. They've forced us to think that way. And we got to break out of it. And that's what this show's about, talking about these things, getting these experiences, talking about some of the technology, going back into the past, looking in the future, all this.
Absolutely. I think we might be in a position where we have to do we're out of time. We might have to do a part 2 to this show. What do you think, Frank? Do we have enough stuff to do a part 2 here?
Yeah, we do, because he goes into some of the things he saw aside from the spacecraft. Bob Lazar talks about some of the stories he's been told, some of the aliens he might have seen. So very interesting stuff. We can do a follow-up for sure.
Okay, let's do it the next time out. So let's go Tuesday. We have an actual free-for-all show Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Actually, you know what? Good time to announce this. We're ending this show. We're got a couple minutes left here, but we're gonna roll back 1 hour with against debt savings, and we're gonna go, instead of 9 p.m. we're gonna stream at 8 p.m. So we're gonna try 8 p.m. and see how that works, and then we'll go from there. Give us a little more time to get some sleep and get you guys get going a little bit earlier. So 8 p.m. Pacific is what we'll do. I'll have that posted up on the website, on Twitter, on everything else, so you guys can find it. But Arizona time would be, so let's see, 8 p.m. here. Pacific, that would be, I think you guys would be 9 p.m. because you don't change your time. I think that's correct. Is that right? No. 7.
I think that's right. And yeah, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern is essentially I think everyone will figure it out.
There you go. So we're going to do that Tuesday, and then we'll try that through the winter here, through the winter months, and we'll see how that goes. But again, you guys have been amazing. The comments, literally, I could not keep up with the comments. We could barely keep up with the phone calls. But I think this is one of those things, again, you know, we're talking about Bob Lazar. This is something from 1989. This is 25 years ago, and this is something that's still on the top of our minds today. This is still something that we can line up, you know. He's talking about warp propulsion and infrared back then. You can't see him, and we're having the same things happen now that corroborate the things that he's saying. So, you know, I think it's interesting that Frank pulled that same clip out about the infrared and the craft being invisible. I was like, no, I found that clip. He's all, no, I found that clip. I'm like, no, I found that clip. But we were thinking the exact same thing, because we just did that episode about To the Stars and Tom DeLonge and infrared and these craft being invisible. So interesting that in 1989 Bob Lazar said these craft are invisible. But anyway, okay, so we're gonna end this up. We're gonna wind this down. You guys are amazing. Thanks for all the comments. Thanks for listening. Thanks for sticking through. We know it's a long show, but we're gonna follow up because this show is not done. Bob Lazar is not done yet. We're not done with this. So we're gonna go through another show just like this with the same types of things. Bob Lazar as the focal point, and talk about some of these technologies, because it seems like you guys are really into it too. So we will do that. But anything to add here, Frank, before we wind this down?
Yeah, so this is important. Again, all these details are lining up in some way. They may not be, excuse me, I had to cough. They may not be perfect. The details may not line up exactly, but the science today is supporting what this guy was saying back in 1989. Now, it's a shame because YouTube's deleting this stuff. Facebook won't let you talk about it. You post about it on Reddit, and you get shills coming out of the woodwork saying, Bob Lazar is a fraud. Well, have they done their research? Have they looked into these things? No. Partially because you can't do it anymore. So this kind of discussion, these kind of experiences, hearing these calls that we got where these craft were silent, lines up perfectly with the type of propulsion systems these are said to have. So this is important discussion, and they're trying to quash it. They're trying to get rid of it. So we got to keep on top of it. We got to keep looking into this.
Exactly right. When they say, stop talking about this, nothing to see here, these guys are crazy, we think there's something there. We definitely think there's something there. I put up on the screen what's happening. If you guys go check it out, go do a search, just a cursory search, spend a couple minutes, look up Bob Lazar, and you'll find a bunch of old websites from the early 90s, and you know they're in that style, but they have a bunch of their YouTube videos that they posted. They're all blacked out. They're deleted. They're censored. They're gone. And I've got an example up here, an image of what they look like. Go check it out. It's amazing that this stuff's actually being redacted from history right in front of us. So anyway, I'm gonna wind this down. Here goes the outro music. But thanks for listening one more time. 8 p.m. now, not 9 p.m. 8 p.m. Pacific, and we'll be back on Tuesday with open topics, and we can follow up on some of this stuff. But in the meantime, outro music. Anything else, Frank?
Nope, that's it. Stay tuned, because we're going to keep digging. Not only into Bob Lazar, we'll go into Stephen Greer, we'll go into tons of this new project, and that's coming up soon. So stay tuned, and we'll keep investigating.
There you go. More on the way, guys. So if you want to help us out, remember, we're just new. We're brand new here. We're 6 months old, barely, and we're figuring it out as we go. So we're hoping we're doing a good show, and we're hoping you guys are enjoying it. So if you want to help us out, and you are, please go to iTunes. Please leave us comments. Please leave us reviews. We need help there. We need help on YouTube. So if you want to go to YouTube, subscribe there, leave some comments, give us some thumbs up, do what you do on YouTube. We would appreciate that. You can find those links on troubledminds.org. That's our website. All that stuff is there. So if you want to help us out, like I said, we're not asking for money, just asking for a couple minutes of your time. We will be back Tuesday, 8 p.m. Pacific for an open show. But for right now, we're just winding this out. Bob Lazar. We didn't even get to finish because you guys are amazing and had some awesome comments. That's the way it goes. So, yeah. TroubledMinds.org. Oh, yeah. And also, we've got secret shows. If you want bonus content, you can join our mailing list. Go to TroubledMinds.org again, top right, enter your email. We'll send you a link with some bonus shows that everybody else does not have access to. So, there you go. I think that covers most of it. I'm going to ask Frank one more time for a good night or a goodbye or a shut up, Mike. Anything else, Frank?
It's getting late. Let's wrap it up.
It's getting late. It's getting late. That's what we're trying to bump it a little bit earlier. Frank is on the East Coast. He's Minnesota boy, so he's got a very late night for you guys. So we're going to try and bump it an hour earlier and make sure everybody's kosher here. So thank you for listening. You guys are the best. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange. I'm here with your co-host, Frank Pierce. Todd says shut up. You guys have a great night.